Hi everyone. Today video is on Angular JWT authentication in HTTP only cookie. Means we are going to store the JWT token in the cookie and we are going to implement cookie based authentication into our Angular application. HTTP only JWT cookie. In a single page authentication, JWT token either can be stored in browser locker storage, means directly accessing JWT token and storing into the browser locker storage, or we can use a cookie that contains the JWT token. There are two approaches. Okay, storing JWT token inside of a cookie, then the cookie should be HTTP only. Okay, if we are going to use cookie based authentication and that cookie contains our JWT token, then that cookie must be HTTP only. So what is HTTP only? The HTTP only cookie nature is that it will be only accessible by the server application. Okay, whatever the key was created server, only that server only can access the HTTP only cookie. Client apps like JavaScript based apps can't access the HTTP only cookie. That means any client application like Angular or React or Vue.js application cannot read the cookie, HTTP only cookie, because this helps to avoid the tampering of HTTP only cookie. Okay, so if you use authentication HTTP only JWT cookie, then we no need to implement any custom logic like adding authorization header or storing token data, etc. In general, if we have a token, for every secured API to consume, we must add that token as a header to the request. Okay, in normal process. But if we use cookie based authentication, we no need to add such logic. Okay, because for every request, cookie will be automatically passed along with the request by the browser itself. Means browser itself adds our cookie for every API request. Okay, because of that, custom logic will be avoided. Okay, so because once user is authenticated, cookie will be automatically sent to the server by the browser on every API call. Okay, so for this demo, okay, I have chosen my server application is a NestJS application, which is a Node framework. Okay, on top it's NestJS built on top of the Node framework. Okay, here you can see my GitHub link, and I will also provide the link in the description section as well. Okay, once you cloned or downloaded the project, first you in your system you have to have the Nest CLI environment. For that, please run this command by opening the command prompt. Once that is successfully installed, one go to this project, okay, and then run this npm install command so that all the required all the required packages that are required by our Nest.js application will be downloaded. Once that is done, it is very simple to start by running this npm run start command. Okay, so for this demo, I have set up my local server. So this project is Nest.js project. Okay, so here we have to observe. You will find a file like main.ts file. Here you have to do some configuration. Okay, here inside of the enable course, you have to add your domain, your Angular application domain. By default, our local Angular application runs under part 200, right? You can directly give that URL here. So that is the one change while you begin the demo. Okay, and here one more thing you have to observe. This our server application, which is NestJS application, runs under port number 3000. Okay, let me start my server, NestJS server. What is the command? npm run start. So my server application is running. Let's create a sample Angular application that is latest version 13. Here is the command for creating the Angular application, that is ng space new and your project name. Okay, and I want to mention one more thing. While creating the project, please enable the routing as well. Okay, so please allow routing. Okay, and I am going to use CSS only. Angular project is successfully created. Let's open it inside of the Visual Studio Code Editor. So here is our Angular project and the version is 13. Now first let's install the Bootstrap into our application. So command is like npm install Bootstrap. Let's install it. And you can see here Bootstrap added into our dependencies. Okay. Now go to angular.json file. Here we have to add Bootstrap CSS and script file. Okay. Here we have to add the CSS file and here we have to add the script file. Let's add them. Now, as a first step, let's create a home component that shows some simple message like an entry page to our application. Okay. Let's create a component like home component. So here is the command to create the component, Angular component like ng space g for generate space component space name of the component, and here I have specified flag like skip test. That means it going to avoid the creating the test files. Okay, let's create the home component folder. You can see my home component created like css html ts files. Okay, now in the home component, let me add some simple message. Okay, using some bootstrap styles. So here I have added a small card where I am going to display simple welcome message. Okay, now go to app component.html and let's remove the existing HTML code. Now in the app component.html, let's add a bootstrap menu. Okay, so in the bootstrap, go to navbar component. Okay, and just copy this code and add it here. Okay, let me remove some unwanted links here. Okay, after removing my navbar look like this, and I want to have color like primary. Let's change primary bg color for menu, and let me give heading like HTTP only cookie auth. Now here for anchor tag, let's get rid of this and add route link, which is a Angular attribute, and specify slash. Slash means home page route. Okay, and now what I will do, I will add a routing. For that, go to app routing module. Okay, so here inside of the routes, let's configure our home component routing. Okay, specify empty, that's for home component. Okay, import it. So here small correction, I did a mistake. Here I have only imported styles for Bootstrap Kit. So I want all Bootstrap styles. So Bootstrap min.css. Okay. Similarly, here I want Bootstrap min.js. Okay. Now let's run the application again. So here you can see this is my home page with some welcome message. Okay. Now I want to create a service file, Angular service file that contains all authentication related API calls. Okay. So this is my command like ng generate g for generate service file shared folder inside of it auth folder inside of it I want to create a auth service file. Let's run the command. and you can see our new folder shared. Inside of it auth, inside of it you can see auth service.ts file. Okay. Now first thing, let's inject the HTTP client instance here. Okay. Okay, let's import the HTTP client namespace. Okay, now I want to create a method. That method contains invoking the HTTP login call, API call. Okay. So for that, let's switch into our NestJS application project. Okay, here app controller. Okay, and here you can see auth/login. This is my API endpoint. Okay, so I want to consume this login API into my application, and to this endpoint, I have to pass my credentials, right? Username and password. For that, go to user service. Here I have marked some user data. So if you clone my project directly from the GitHub, whatever the email and password value is there, you must use them only. If you want, you can override these values here and rerun the NestJS application. Okay. So in the auth service file, create a method like login, and here we have a payload like user credentials. For now, let it be any. Okay. So this is a post request. Okay, and HTTP localhost, and I have shown you that my NestJS application run under port number 3000. Okay, so and remaining path let's copy from the controller. Okay, and here we can pass our payload, and here we need to specify few additional configurations like with the credentials true. This is because my Angular application running under 4200 port number and my NestJS application running under 3000 port number, right? So different applications, they want to communicate each other. At that time, to send the user cookie that is created by this server, we should specify with credentials true. Okay. So this is my method. Now we have to import HTTP module into the client module into the app module. Okay, go to app module. Here let's import the HTTP client module. Okay, sorry, it should be import into the imports, not declaration. Now let's create a login component. Okay, okay, this is my command for login components. Let's run the command, and here you can see my login component is successfully created. Now let's add the route into the app routing module. I will specify path like login and component login component. Okay, and next thing is go to the app component.html and let's add a one more link here, and here I can specify login. Now go to the login component.ts file. Let's implement a some authentication logic here. First, let me create a object like login user. Okay, this login user I am going to add properties like email, empty, and password. So these properties name should be add like this only because I am going to this send this object as a payload. So at my server I have created like this only. So that is my login object. So I am going to use this for model binding into our HTML. Now go to login component HTML file. So let me add my login form here. So here is my form. I added just two text fields, one for password and one for the email, entering the email. Now let's enable the model file binding for them. So to enable model binding, you can use ng model. Okay. And login user dot email. Similarly for password also. Ng model login password. Sorry. Login user password. So I have binded model binding with this object. Okay. Login user. And since we are using ng model, right, we have to import the form module here in the our app module. Form. Okay. Now go to my login component.ts. Here I will create a method like login. Okay, let me inject my auth service. Okay, here what I will do, this dot auth service dot login, and I will pass my login user credentials. Okay, I will subscribe it, and here to the next I will specify like alert login successful. If authentication is successful, I am just showing an alert message. Okay, if any error, let me show a alert message like login failed. Okay, let's run the application and test the authentication, login authentication. So here you can see login link, click on it. Okay, and let's go for HTML, login HTML. Here it is a password, and here I haven't added click event. So click equal to, and here I have to specify my method like login. Okay, add a button label as well. Okay, so what are my email and password? I will go to user service and I will copy it from here. Okay, and my password. Okay, and let me open my inspect element, and I'm going to click on login. The login is successful. If I go to network calls and etc, here you can see my login API call. Login, auth login and successful. And if I go to cookies, here you can see auth cookie. My auth cookie is delivered by the NestJS application, means I have successfully authenticated. That is why it is showing login successful. Okay, So one basic step is completed. Now next thing is, once I am authenticated, I want to display my username here, and I want to hide this login, and I want to show some sign out button like that, right? So for that, what we will do here, we don't have any access for the JWT token because token is resides inside of the cookie. We cannot read the cookie since it is HTTP only. So in these cases, what we have to do means we need to have another API, okay, secured API that contains user information, okay, like a profile API. So for that, you go to app controller in my NestJS project, and here you can see route like user profile. So if I click on this, means if I consume this, I will get some user information like username, last name, email, and password. Okay, those are the things I am returning from this authenticated API. Okay, so for that, what we will do, go to our Angular application. Let's create a model for our profile API response. Okay, so here I am creating a normal Angular class, and inside of it, where shared folder, I want to create a models folder. Inside of it, I want to create a user model.ts file. These tests, not test. Let's run the command again. I have created a new folder like models. Inside of it, I have a model. Okay. So let me define properties of my uh, user profile API response model. Okay. So finally, my profile response model looks like this. Okay. Now let's create a API call in my auth service. Go to auth service. Here, I want to store these values. Okay. I want to store these values into a observable. Okay. So that I can easily listen for the changes, or I can easily access the data from that observable in any component in my application. Okay. So for that, let me create a observable like the profile, okay, of type of our user model. I want to assign initial behavior subject of user model, and we have to pass some initial data. So this is my user profile observable. Now let's add a method for invoking the profile API. Okay, so profile client dot, this is a get call, and my response will be the user model, right? So here let me copy the URL, and I want to change the path of the URL, that is what is my path? User-profile. Copy it from here. And here specify like with credentials true. Okay. I want to save the profile information along with this. Here anyway, we are going to assign our user profile information to the user profile, right? Along with this, I want to store the profile information, okay, user profile information into the my local storage, browser local storage, so that if my browser is reloaded or app is reloaded, I can fetch the user information directly from the local browser storage. Okay. So for that, let's add a one more method like save user to local storage. Okay, do this, we'll pass user model. Okay, so what we will do here, we will first assign the data into the our variable, user profile variable. So to pass value, we have to use next, and to that next, so that we are able to assign data to our observable behavior subject. Next I want to store the data into local storage as well. So set item, I will name a key. Like for storing data into local storage, we have to specify like a dictionary key and value. So my key is like, I can specify my key like user profile, user hyphen profile. Okay, and here I want to stringify this profile object into a string using JSON.stringify and save it to the local storage. Now let's update our login method in the login component. Okay, so here what I will do, let's comment this. Okay, and here what I will do, let auth flow equal to this dot auth dot login. Okay, here I will point login, and to this login using pipe. So once authentication API is successful, I want switch map. I want to use the switch map, which is an RxJS operator. Here it will be imported. Here I will return this dot auth dot profile API. Okay. So here what I am doing, first calling the login API. Once that is completed, login, I am switching my observable to invoke the profile API call. Okay, now I can subscribe to my profile information. So for that, authflow dot subscribe. Okay, in the next method, what I will do, user model, because second API is profile date, I will get the user model as a response. Okay, so what I will do, this dot auth dot local storage, and to that local storage I will pass the user model. So what is this local storage method doing? This local storage method updating our user profile observer as well as the browser local storage with our authenticated user profile information. Okay, there, let me add a alert message. Okay, so let's remove this commented code. Now let's run again and test whether we are getting the user profile information and we are able to save it into the local storage or not. Okay, we reload page. Let me log in again. Okay, see, profile API also successfully called, and if I view the response, you can see my user information. And if I go to application and local storage, I can see my user profile information. So now I am able to store the user profile information into my browser local storage. Now I want to show my email address here on left side of the navigation menu, and I want to hide the login on successful login. Okay, so for that what I will do, go to app component. Okay, here create a variable like user info, that is our type user model, and I will do a nullable model. Okay, and here in the constructor import the auth service. Okay, and let's implement the ng on init. Okay, so inside of the ng on init, what I will do, I will subscribe for my observable, that is user profile. Service dot user profile dot subscribe. Okay, I am assigning that data into my user information. Okay, now go to HTML file, app component.html file. So here what I will do, here ng if, okay, I will add a condition like user info dot id equal to 0. Initially user info will be a 0 only, because for the observable initial value I am giving 0, right? So I am using that value. Okay, so if at all triple equal to 0, means if it is 0 means user is not authenticated. At that time only we want to show this. And now I will create a one more UL. Okay, so I want to display all the menus inside of this UL on the left hand side. For that I will use deflex bar now. Okay, inside of it I can add copy and add. So here I don't have anything to click, and here just I want to display my user email address. Okay, but here condition should be in the opposite way, means it should not be not equal to 0, means that is authenticated user. Okay, now I can see my username if I authenticated my email address on the left side of the menu bar. So let's reload again, let's authenticate again. See, my login link is gone, and here you can see my email address is showing. And here I want to show one more thing. Since it is a profile is a secured API, right? So this secured API, we are not adding any headers like JWT token, but how we are getting means to this request header, cookie is added automatically, authentication cookie. That is automatically done by browser itself. Okay, that is the benefit of the HTTP only cookie. We no need to add any explicit logic for adding any headers or, okay, automatically cookie will be added, okay, into the secured APIs. Now switch back to my NestJS application, and here I have a another API like secured API. Only authenticated user can consume, similar to profile API. Okay, profile API also only authenticated users only can consume. Okay, and here also one more API I have created like movies and array. So what I will do in Angular application, I will create another page component like dashboard. Okay, so in the dashboard page, I am going to bind this as a user dashboard information. Okay, so first let's go to our Angular application and let's create a dashboard component. Okay, this is my command for creating the dashboard component. Let's run the command. So here you can see the dashboard component. in our auth service, let's add a logic for invoking the liked movies API. Go to auth service. Okay. Here I will create one more method like get movies. It is almost similar to the profile get request. Okay. And just change the path here. So path is liked movies. Okay. Now go to our dashboard component.ts file. Here let's inject auth service. And here let me create a variable of array of string. Initially I will assign empty array. This dot auth dot get movies dot subscribe. Okay. So here I will get the array of data movies. I am going to assign it for this dot favorite movies equal to data. Here let's specify like string array. Okay, now it is fine. Now let's bind our data like favorite movies into our dashboard HTML. Okay. So here what I will do. So this is sample HTML I have added Bootstrap HTML. So here I have added a Bootstrap code. So now what I will do, I will loop this code. Okay. Not the code, a column I will loop for that. And G for at movie of or favorite movie. Okay. Now let me bind the data. And let's define route for this. For that, go to app routing module. Path is like dashboard component, dashboard component. Okay, now go to app component.html and let's add a menu. So this menu should be conditional, just like login. Okay, and it here it should be authenticated, right? So the condition it could be changed like this. Okay, now let's run our application again. So let's log in again. And here you can see dashboard link. Let's click on the dashboard link. See, I am getting data from my API. Here you can see my liked movies. And the response is some array of data. Okay. Now here we can have two kind of problems. Those are like if I navigate to login, I can see my home page, but I am not logged out. I am still in the my cookie is still available in the browser, but I am able to navigate here. This is one issue. And if I go to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and if I go to dashboard, and if I reload my page, I am losing my authenticated user information. Right. These two problems we have to solve now. So how we can solve? To solve this problem, we have to use the Auth Guards. So using this Auth Guard, we can restrict the user. Once he is logged in, we can restrict him from accessing the login page. And also, once if the user is reloaded, we can again pull the authenticated user information and bind it to the menu. Okay, those things we have to do now. Go to our auth service. Here we will create a one more method like load user from local storage. Okay, because if we reload our application, the data in the user profile observable will be lost. So we have to load it from the our local storage. Okay. So now what I will do here, if this dot user profile dot value dot id equal to 0 means maybe user reloaded the application at that time, user profile will lost the data, right? So then what I will do, let from local storage equal to local storage dot get, and I have to get the user profile information with the key which I use it to store it. That is user profile. Okay, now if I found some data in the browser storage, means user is authenticated only, then let user info equal to JSON dot parse. We are storing like string, right? We need to parse it again from local storage. And then I'm going to pass the data into my user profile observable. User info. And finally, I want to return my data from my observable. This dot user profile dot value. Okay. Now let's create a auth guard. Okay. Okay. Authentic class is created. Normal plain class. We implemented it as a authentication guard. So now we have to make this class as auth guard. So to make it as a auth guard, create table. Okay. And now our class should implement can active. Okay. Now implement the can active interface. Okay. So here this method can active should return true means route will be passed. False means application stops the user navigation. Okay. So here I want to add some logic so that I can navigate or block the user based on his authentication information. Okay. So for that, first I have to define some information at the route level itself. Okay. So go to app routing module and here define some route data. So to define route data, I can use data property, and to this data property, I can use my custom variable like user type. So for home page, I will name you give user type like guest, means anyone can access. Okay, and then data user type. Okay, for login page, I will give like non-logged in, means only non-authenticated users only can access this page. Similarly, data, I will assign some type like, see, these are custom values only. This data property is default property of the routing. Inside of it, I am assigning some custom key value pair values. Okay. So for this dashboard, I specify like logged in. Okay. So home page is for guest for everyone. Login page for only non-logged in users, and dashboard for only logged in users. Now we are going to use these data properties for restricting the URLs in our Auth Guard service. Okay. Now here I can remove this. Okay. And what I can do, I can add a constructor private auth, and I am going to import my auth service into this constructor. Now first thing I want to do here is, first let me get me the user info. So from where I can get the user info, this dot auth service dot load from local storage. See, if in this method, if we have user profile variable observable have data, it will directly return. If we don't have, it gets the data from the local storage. Okay. So get the data user information, and first let's check like route dot. Okay, we can get data property, and my property is user type. Okay, and here I can specify like logged in. Sorry, let's first check for guest. So if it is a guest, everyone can access it. It is independent of user authentication. That is our home page. Next, else if user logged in. Okay. So if user logged in, then we have to check the user information is exist or not. Means someone is trying to access the dashboard page. At that time, we have to check user also authenticated or not. For that, we can use this user info, and we can check it is greater than 0 or not. If it is greater than 0, we will return true. Means user is authenticated. Okay. If not authenticated, then we have to navigate him back to the some landing page like that. Right. So for that, I am going to inject a Angular service like router. Okay. So now what we will do here, this dot router dot navigate back to landing page. If at all user is not logged in, and also return false. Okay. And copy this entire logic again. And paste it here. And here you can specify like non-logged in user. Means user is not logged in. Means user ID will be equal to 0. Then only we will return true. Or else we will return to landing page. So this is case when the non-authenticated user trying to access some dashboard page. Okay. And if nothing data provider is matched, we simply return like this. Okay. So this is how my route auth guard looks like. So what I am doing using my route provider values, I am allowing my user navigation. If the conditions are not satisfying, I am redirecting back to home page. Okay. Now in app routing module, we have to define our auth guards. For that, can have to in the array we can specify our auth guard. Okay. We can specify for every route this value. Okay. Now if I log in again and if I test like reloading my page or try to navigating the dashboard page without authentication, then I'm going to be restricted because of the auth guard route. Okay, if I reload again, you can see I am authenticated. And now here we can observe one more thing. If at all our token in the cookie is expired, we won't get data here. You can see 401 means unauthorized, means our token is expired in the cookie. But here we can see one more thing. We are still showing the logged in user information that is loading from the browser local storage. Okay, so how we can uh, correct these things, like once the cookie is expired, means token in the cookie is expired, we have to refresh the token in the cookie again. And also we have to handle this logic as well. Okay, since authenticated, then we have to clear the local storage as well, right? So that if we are permanently logged out, we have to remove the information from the local storage as well. So how we can handle them? So we can handle them by creating the interceptor. Okay, and let's first go to our NestJS application. Here you can see I have a endpoint like refresh token. So what it will do, it will update a new token into my cookie. So let's use this API for refreshing our cookie. So first thing is we have to add a API in our auth service. Okay, so here I will create a method like refresh cookie. Copy it here and let's change the path of my refresh cookie. Okay, I changed my refresh cookie. Okay, so now to refresh it, I have to use the interceptor. So interceptors are what? Whenever our token is expired, using the interceptor, HTTP interceptors, we can invoke the user profile, refresh cookie API, and we can refresh our access token. Okay, so let's create a auth interceptor into our application. So let's run the command. So here you can see I have created the interceptor. Okay, first let's decorate it with injectable and it should implement HTTP interceptor. Okay, interceptors are invoked for every API request in the application once interceptor is configured. Here we will return next dot handle request. Okay, this is normal flow. Now I want to handle whenever cookie is expired, means we will get unauthorized exception, right? So for that, what I will do, here I will create a one method like private method like handle 401 error. Okay, here it will take input parameters like as it is these input parameters. Okay, and one more parameter like original error. I will explain what this input parameter later. Okay, now in this method what we'll do means, so this method will get executed whenever we got unauthorized exception. Okay, in that case what we have to do, this dot, first we have to inject the our service, auth service, private, okay, injected auth service, and now this dot auth dot refresh cookie. In this method I am going to invoke the refresh cookie API. Okay, once that is done, means if the refresh cookie API is done, what I will do, I will use switch map, switch the HTTP call, okay, and return next dot handle dot request. Okay, so what it will do, see, this method I am going to execute whenever, if I call movie API call, if it is 401, this method gets executed. Inside this method, what I will do, I will call immediately refresh cookie API. So that is completed. Again, what I will do, I will again call the original request. What is the original request? Movie API. Again, I am invoking movie API. Since refresh cookie delivers a new cookie and we have a active JWT token, if we re-invoke again, we will get the results because we are authenticated, because our cookie is refreshed. So this request is nothing but the first failure request here. See, this first request comes here. It will fail. Then we will that failure we will handle in this method. Till now we are not calling, but in upcoming steps we will call here. So first normal API fails here because of authentication, and it will come to here. Then refresh token API will be called. Again, this request again invoked, reinstantiated. Okay, so this is how flow works. Okay, sometimes refresh token also expires, means refresh token unable to regenerate the cookie. At that time we will get an error, right? So that case also we have to handle. So in that cases we have to catch error. Okay, and here what we have to do, some logic like I want to, so refresh cookie API also not working, means that is not a valid user. Then what we have to do, we have to remove the profile information from the browser local storage. Okay, means user is completely, we remove user information because refresh API also unable to regenerate the cookie. That is why this catch error is executing. And here we'll navigate this dot router dot. So we have to inject the router also here. Private router, and this dot router dot navigate to home page. And also we can return exception throw error So if you want to throw error also you can throw. And but if we catch here, this error will be either this refresh cookie API error. So in that case, we have to have original error. The error occurred here. So that error occurred will be stored in this variable. So we will pass this error. Okay. That is our private method. Now let's configure our private method to this handler. Okay, here what I will do, I will add a pipe. Okay, if at all some error occurred. Okay, if unauthorized also it comes to error block. Okay, if at all error occurred, then what you have to do, if the status equal to 401 means unauthorized status, then return this dot our method, new method we will call, right, request comma next comma and our original error will be passed to it. Okay, if at all it is not a 401, if it is any other exception of the API, then we simply return the exception is enough. For that, throw error. Okay, so our interceptor looks like this. What we are doing, if the error occurs, we are pass that error to the handler 401 error method. In that method, we will invoke the API call. If that API call successful, we will again invoke our old failed API call. Okay. Now we need to configure our interceptor into the app module. Okay. So go to the app module. Inside of the providers, add an object like provide HTTP interceptors. Use class, define our auth interceptor and multi. Okay, we have successfully configured our interceptor as well. Okay, now to test this expiration, go to here my NestJS application. So in the auth module in my NestJS application, set our expiration to 30 seconds or else 20 seconds so that I can, my token will be expired in 20 seconds. Now test it in our application whether the refresh cookie API is working perfectly or not. And in login module, login in our Angular application, in login module, if it is successfully authenticated, let's navigate to dashboard page directly. For that, private dot router. Okay, this dot router dot navigate. Okay, now test our application. And one more thing I forgot to explain, in our auth interceptor method, we have to add one more logic. If we don't add this logic, our application call will goes for infinite loops. What is that logic means? Initially, if request dot URL dot index of okay refresh token. If the API call is refresh token, then don't enter this flow. This flow is for everything except for refresh token. If you don't add this, if refresh token also failing, it will goes to infinite loop. Because refresh token also failing, it will go to infinite loop. So to avoid that, we simply handle like this. Okay. So please make sure to add this one condition. Okay, now test our application. Okay, go to login page, try to authenticate. I am in dashboard page, right? Wait for 20 seconds for my cookie to expire. I reload again. My cookie is expired, but not invoked the refresh API. Why it is not invoking? Okay, I haven't handled condition here perfectly. So it is going into this if condition. Okay. Now let's test again. Login again. Okay. Wait for 20 seconds and reload the page. Now test again. After 20 seconds. See, it is expired. Another is 401. But refresh cookie is invoked. And it create a new cookie response. See. And again invoked our liked movies. So now it will handle all the cases. If I try to log in, it will navigate to home page because I am already logged in. I cannot access the login page dashboard. Okay, that is how authentication interceptor will work. Okay, now final step we have to do, that is log out. Okay, in NestJS, if I go to app controller, I have a simple endpoint, that is logout, that will clear the cookie. Go to auth service. Here let's create a method like logout. Okay, and simply copy the route. Okay, now go to app component, app component.ts, and add a method like logout. So here what I will do means this dot auth dot logout. Okay, and I am going to subscribe to it. Here what I will do, first I want to empty my observable. Okay, this dot auth dot use of profile data, I want to empty it. So I want to pass some empty data, right? I will copy it from here, empty object. I will clear the observable. dot next. Okay. And next thing, I have to clear the local storage as well. Remove. So what is the profile local storage variable? Use a profile, right? I want to clear that one as well. Okay. And finally, I want to navigate the user back to home page. In my case, private route router. Okay. Navigate to home page. And in the HTML, let add a sign out link. Okay. So in the app component.html, let's add a sign out button. Okay. So copy this. Here instead of href, because it will reload the page. So what I will do, I will use a button. Log out and add a click event to it. Okay, that's it. Let's test the logout functionality as well. See, here you can see the logout. If I click on logout, see, I'm able to successfully log out. If I again log in, I'm going to dashboard. My user information is shown here. If I reload also, I won't lose my user information. If I click on logout, I'm able to log out. Okay, so that's all about the user authentication in Angular application using HTTP only cookie. I hope this video has delivered some useful information to you all. So if you like my video, please support me by subscribing to my channel. Soon we will meet you with new videos. Until then, signing off.